you. My name is Zainani and Fabianar from Lamut, Ifugao. I am a college student of Bachelor of Science in Psychology at East Campus. Good evening to all my listeners out there. What we are going to talk all about the Freuds psychosexual sexual development. So I have no long introduction. I'm just straight to the point. Who is Simon Freud? By the way, he is an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis. He developed a set of therapeutic techniques centered on talk therapy that involve the use of strategies such as transference, free association, and dream interpretation. So, what is his contribution to the field of psychology? Regardless of the perception of Simon Freud's theories, there is no question that he had an enormous impact on the field of psychology. His work supported the belief that not all mental have sociological causes, and he also offered evidence that cultural differences have an impact on the psychology and behavior of a human. So the first stage is the oral. The age range is birth to 1 year. During the oral stage, the infant's primary source of interaction is in the mouth. So the rooting and sucking reflex is especially important. The mouth is vital for eating, and the infant derives pleasure from oral stimulation through gratifying activities such as tasting and sucking. Because the infant is entirely dependent upon caretakers, the child also develops a sense of trust and comfort through this stimulation. The second stage is the anal stage. The age range is 1 to 3 years. The primary source of interaction is in the libido, was on controlling the bladder and the bowel movement. The major conflict in this stage is in the toilet training. The child has to learn to control their bodily needs. According to Freud, success at this stage is dependent upon the way in which the parents approach toilet training. For example, when a parent is strictly on training his or her child, it might result into a success development. Parents who utilize praise and rewards for using the toilet at appropriate time encourage positive outcomes and help children to feel capable and productive. So Freud believed that positive experience during the toilet training stage serve as the basis for people to become competent, productive, and creative adults. However, not all parents provide the support and encouragement that children need during this stage. Some parents some parents punish and ridicule or shame a child for accident. So that is very understandable, no? We we have a lot of parents that is like that. They're very strict in what do you call this, in developing their child's um basta ganun. However, I mean, according to Freud, inappropriate parental response can result in negative outcomes. If parents take an approach that is too lenient, Freud suggested that an anal expulsive personality could develop, in which the individual has a messy, wasteful, or destructive personality. So, magiging pasaway na siya. If parents are too strict or begin toilet training too early, Freud believed that an anal retentive personality develops, in which the individual is stringent, orderly, rigid, and obsessive. This is related to the autonomy versus train and doubt. So the third stage is the phallic stage. The age range is 3 to 6 years. The primary source or the primary focus of this is in the genitals. The primary focus on the genitals through the libido. At this stage, children also begin to discover the differences between males and females. So, na-curious sila sa mga differences nila sa mga boys. Freuds also believed that boys begin to view their fathers as a rival from their mother's affection. That is what we call the Oedipus complex. This describes these feelings of wanting to possess the mother and the desire to replace the father. That is for the male. However, the child also fears that he will be punished by the father for this feeling. A fear, Freud termed a castration anxiety, ang tawag doon sa takot sa father nila na mapunish. Sa babae naman, the term Electra complex, that is for the girls, has been used to describe a similar set of feelings experienced by young girls. Freud, however, believed that girls instead experience penis envy. Eventually, the child begins to identify with the same-sex parent as a means of vicariously possessing the other parent. For girls, however, Freud believed that penis envy was never fully resolved and that all women remain some fixated on this stage. So, what is penis envy, by the way? So, dito na-curious sa mga girls. In English, they are curious why they do not have penis. They are wondering why. That is the definition of penis envy, by the way. Psychologists such as Karen Horney disputed this theory, calling it both inaccurate and demeaning to women. To women. Instead, Horney proposed that men experience feeling of inferiority because they cannot give birth to children and concept she referred as a womb envy. Kung if sa sa Electra complex, they the girls has penis envy, while the boys in Oedipus complex, they has also womb envy, wherein they are curious why they has they do not have womb, they cannot they cannot give birth to children. That is what we call the womb envy. The fourth stage is the latent period. So, by the way, on the phallic stage ba to? On the phallic stage, this is related to initiative versus guilt or the developing sense of purpose. So, proceed tayo sa latent period. The age range is 6 to puberty. The primary focus in this is on the sexual feelings are inactive. During this stage, the superego continues to develop while the id energies are suppressed. Children develop social skills, develop values, relationship peers, and adults outside of the family. The development of the ego and superego contribute to this period of calm, the stage where it begins around the time that children enter in school and become more concerned with peer relationship and hobbies and other interests. No? The latent period is a time of exploration in which the sexual energy repressed or dormant. This energy is still present, but it is sublimated into other areas such as the intellectual pursuits and social interactions. This stage is important in the development of social and communication skills and self-confidence. As with the other psychosexual stages, Freud believed that it was possible for children to become fixated or stuck in this phase. Fixation at this stage can result in immaturity and inability to form fulfilling relationship as an adult. This is related to industry versus inferiority or the during child development. The last stage is the genital stage where it is reached puberty age. The erogenous zone of this is only maturing sexual interest. The onset of puberty causes the libido to become active once again during the final stage of psychosexual development, and the individual develops a strong sexual interest in the opposite sex. It's very understandable. This stage begins during puberty but lasts throughout the rest of a person's life, wherein Earlier stage, the focus was solely on individual needs, interest, in welfare of other growths during this stage. The goal of this stage is to establish a balance between the various life areas. If the other stage have been completed successfully, the individual should now be well balanced, warm, and caring. Unlike many other stages of development, Freud believed that the ego and superego were fully formed and functioning at this point. Younger children are ruled by the id, which demand immediate satisfaction of the most basic need and wants. Teens in the age Teens in the age of 12 and 13 to 19 in the genital stage of development are able to balance their most basic urges needs to conform the demands of reality and social norms. This is related to how testing out different identities is a part of teenage evaluating. So, evaluating Freud's psychosexual development stage theory. Freud's theories is still considered as controversial today, but imagine how audacious it seemed during the late 18th and early 19th. There have been a number of observation and criticism of Freud's psychosexual theory on a number of grounds, including the scientific and feminist critics. On the criticism of the psychosexual stages, the theory The theory is focused almost entirely on male development and little mention of female psychosexual development. These theories are difficult to test scientifically. Concepts such as the libido are impossible to measure and therefore cannot be tested in the research that has been conducted. The future predictions are too vague. How can we know that a current behavior was caused by specific, especially by childhood experience? The length of time between the cause and effect is too long and assume that there is a relationship between the two variables. So that's all and good evening.